is LRB Martins here, and this is my 2018 iPad Pro. It's incredibly quick with benchmarks that outpace virtually every MacBook Pro. Well, up to i7 at least. But even with that incredible speed, it still isn't what I'd call a laptop replacement. So the first thing you'll notice after picking this thing up is that it's extremely light, with the 12.9-inch model, the one I'm holding here, weighing in at 630 grams, while the 11-inch model comes in at 468 grams. It's extremely light once again, but when you slap on a case, you should be expecting to add at least 400 grams to the device. It's also extremely thin, with the smaller of the two coming in at 5.9 millimeters thick, while the larger is 6.9 millimeters thick. Personally, I think this helps a lot with the ergonomics of the device, as well as its ease of use. It makes it easy to hold, and by easy, I mean ridiculously easy. I purchased the space gray variant, and boy, I have to say, it looks incredible. It has a similar texture to that of the iPhone 11 Pro series. We also have 3 smart connectors on the back of the device that have been moved from the bottom to the side. They're again used to connect to Apple's smart keyboard, which uses magnets to connect rather than Bluetooth. I'm pretty sure Apple is still the only company that uses these smart connectors, and everyone else uses Bluetooth. At the back, we have a 12 megapixel shooter that enables 4K video at both 30 FPS and 60 FPS. This adds a little camera bump to the iPad, but because of its even weight distribution, it isn't really noticeable. Plus, because most people type on an actual keyboard, typing on an on-screen keyboard wouldn't really cause the table to wobble. Fun fact, the 2018 iPad Pro is full of magnets. I was doing a little Google search the other day, and I found out that there are over 90 magnets in the device. I went to my refrigerator and tried to see if it would stick to it, and you guessed it, it did. I took it off almost immediately though, because it started slipping. That is something I wouldn't recommend any of you to try. Around the device we have 4 speaker grills that are pretty decently sized and offer bass, rich, and crispy sound. Apple's replaced the lightning port for USB-C, finally, and this enables us to, start using one cable for virtually all of our devices. It also means that we can plug in external hard drives and thumb drives and add extra storage. Up front, we have the biggest change to the iPad Pro since launch. We have what Apple calls a liquid retina edge-to-edge display, which in simple terms means a display with curved corners and then bezels. Apple made the device in a much smaller footprint by creating these thinner bezels, and because of this, there's no more fingerprint scanner, but instead we have Face ID. It of course works in every orientation, but it's still a pretty good touch to the device. We have a ProMotion display that's 120 Hz and helps with fluid scrolling. It also helps with greater responsiveness and browsing the web. Plus, with a pixel density of 264, the device is extremely sharp. It's unfortunately only a 1080p display, but considering MacBooks don't have 4K displays either, it isn't really a bad issue. pricing for the iPad Pro starts at $1,400 and goes all the way up to a 1TB variant with LTE that is priced at $3,300. Back to the iPad, the whole thing is powered by an A12X Bionics chip, which is faster than most i7 laptops, with benchmark scores that are just unbelievable. I mean, single core scores of 5,025 and multi-core scores of 18,106. There's also a keyboard case for the iPad Pro, and the one here is almost a dark gray black. As said earlier, it's made of magnets and has 3 smart connector points that attach to the iPad easily. The outer casing of the iPad is a type of silicone fabric, whilst the back that slaps near the camera and the back of the iPad is a Alcantara sort of fabric. The keys, however, are covered in a fabric that prevents dust and food from getting mixed up into the keys. The keyboard, unlike most other alternatives, has hardly any key travel, no function keys, and no backlight. This makes most of us wonder if it is indeed worth the $220 that it is. I guess we have to weigh out the pros and cons, because its ease of connectability, the ability to just slap it on and take it off, that is something a lot of people look for. When compared to similar products like the Surface Pro 7 that recently released, they both have desktop class browsing and the ability to download the software of the Adobe Suite. The iPad, however, is stuck using the apps, while the Surface gets the full desktop class experience. iPadOS provides an accessibility feature that can be used as mouse support, but it clearly isn't the same. A Surface Pro, however, has that, and that may be the deal breaker for you. And if that is, I'd recommend a Surface. Being a high school student, I've been using the iPad Pro as my daily driver for well over a year now, and I think it works pretty well. Aside from the fact that it didn't offer desktop class browsing until this year, and that there isn't any proper mouse support, I'd recommend it to almost anyone. I mean, because most of our work nowadays is in the Google Suite. We don't tend to need things like Microsoft as much as we used to, maybe like 5, 6, or 7 years ago. However, if you do still need those softwares, I wouldn't get an iPad Pro. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so you know when my next video drops.